Welcome to part 6 of our 2-month recap. And in this part, I'm going to be talking about the varying movies I saw not in theaters. So, yeah, going back and forth here, but I want to break it up between the movies. So, these are not going to be in any particular order, just some of the highlights, I guess, if you will. Starting off with Trainwreck. Pretty solid comedy. Can't really say too much great or negative about it. Made me laugh. I'd recommend it to anyone who asked, but nothing particularly spectacular about it, But yeah, plenty funny, Definitely recommend it. Looking at my list here. Is, again, 2 months. Quite a few things. I remember. God Bless America. Wow. Woof. What a dark film. Delightfully in a lot of ways. Yeah, you gotta have a really twisted sense of humor to really dig this flick. Because it's messed up. It's really messed up. But if you like your humor incredibly dark, then yeah, definitely check out God Bless America. It's got a pretty on the nose but interesting bit of commentary to it, but yeah, it was funny. I laughed pretty hard at it, but I have pretty twisted sense of humor myself. So let's see what's next on the list. The greatest Christmas movie of all time, quote unquote, Die Hard. What can I say about Die Hard that no one else hasn't said before a bazillion times? It's an amazing film. It's a standout, a benchmark. It's a movie that put Bruce Willis on the map, pretty much. Pardon me. It's still amazingly, to this day, you can watch it and just be in awe at the just directing masterwork on display. It's a phenomenal film. And it holds up incredibly well. I can't really say too much about it that hasn't been said before, so I'm not gonna. Mystery Men. This one's interesting just for me, just because I've heard a few people recommend it to me before. One person in particular was really strongly recommending it, so I gave it a watch. And interesting enough flick, very strange film, but interesting enough. Not something I would really recommend for most people. It's too strange for most people's taste. I thought it was interesting though. Probably one of the better Ben Stiller flicks, although that's a pretty low bar. But yeah, I enjoyed it, for what it was. I probably won't go back to it and rewatch it. It's not a new classic for me by any stretch of the imagination, but I enjoyed it, well enough. Going to polar opposite ends here, going to an all-time classic, Citizen Kane. Again, so many things have been said about this film, but I'll try to give my own take on it. I went into this film when I first saw it with all the hype. It's the greatest film of all time, or at least one of them. But so I went into this expecting pretty great things, and boy, did it live up to that hype. Wow, what an amazing film. Just great acting. The plot, even though the film explains the entire plot to you at the beginning of the film, but it doesn't give you the details. And that's what the whole film is about. It's filling in the details. Because, again, the title character Charles Foster Kane, he's a lot of different things to a lot of different people. It's a very nuanced character. And half of this, the big reveal at the end of the film, which, come on, it's well acknowledged as one of, not the greatest film of all time, and it's almost like 80 years old, so, but I'll go and give a spoiler warning here anyways, but, when you see his sled, the titular Rosebud that was mentioned at the beginning of the film, burning in the furnace like it's nothing. Yeah, keep in mind, I've seen this film spoofed so many times, long before I ever saw the film, or even knew that that was film that was being spoofed, So the ending of this movie's been spoiled to me countless times before I even knew Citizen Kane was a thing. And yet, despite all that, despite knowing going in what Rosebud was, dear God, watching that ending, watching the one thing that Citizen Kane wanted in this world more than anything else that he couldn't buy, just his lost childhood, and just some honest to goodness love, and watching the one symbol of those things, just thrown away and burned like it's nothing. Man, that tears you apart. It makes me cry every time. It's just so tragic. Just masterful filmmaking. A true classic in every sense of the word. Highly recommend that film. Mission Impossible 5, Rogue Nation. Not as good as Ghost Protocol, although I'm partial because I really like Brad Bird. But yeah, definitely a solid follow-up to that film. Again, it's Mission Impossible. There's not really a whole lot to say about it. It really is the same plot as the last couple films, just redone a little bit, to make it sound a little different. But Ethan Hunt's been exiled from IMF in some way, shape, or fashion, and now he's got to prove his innocence and stop the bad guy from whatever dastardly plot he or she has in motion. We've seen this 4 times previously already, but the way that's done and the characters involved, because now they're involving more characters than just Tom Cruise's Ethan Hunt, and the stunts, bring you back for more. It's all just really well done. So, it's a sharp flick. You like the previous Mission Impossible films, you'll plenty love this new one. It's pretty solid flick overall. Coming to something a bit more original, I think that was the original. It Follows. This is a really interesting horror flick. It's one of the better. I'm glad to see that horror is really coming back in a really interesting way. Finally getting away from the torture porn and from the shaky cam nonsense, and the jump scares. I mean, jump scares have always been part of horror, but some of the films that have come out, in the past few years, have just been like these jump scare marathons, as opposed to being horror films, actual horror films, And this film, man, it's an actual horror film. It's full of dread and tension. It has a really great atmosphere and a really great concept that I'm not even going to mention the concept here, but I'm going to say if you really like horror films, definitely check out It Follows. It was superb. Next on the list. Something that I rewatched for the first time in a long time. Very long time. Home Alone 2. Yeah, I know. It's like, why not Home Alone 1? Because I've seen Home Alone 1 far more recently. But I haven't seen Home Alone 2 in probably a good, up until I rewatched it, probably a good 15 years. So yeah, it's been a good while since I've seen Home Alone 2. And yeah, it's pretty great. I still love it. Three things that I feel I should mention, just because I thought they were interesting. Two are a little awkward, but the third one I just think is kind of neat. One, kind of awkward, seeing Macaulay Culkin as Kevin McAllister, on top of the World Trade Center. I mean, it's always awkward seeing that type of stuff in movies set in New York. Just seeing those, those buildings and the skyline is just a little like, But whenever you see a character interact with them in some way, it's really awkward. Just like, well, we know when this film was made before, at least, for sure. The other one that's a little awkward just because of current events. Kind of a awkward cameo by Donald Trump when Kevin gets to the hotel. It's like, oh, hi. Again, 20 plus years ago, different idea of who that guy was. So it's still just kind of like, oh, hi, now. And then the last one, this one I just think is kind of neat. There's a part of the movie, Kevin's running away from the hotel after they chase him out, and the bandits catch him. Formerly the Wet Bandits, now the Sticky Bandits. And it goes to slow motion, and the way they frame the shot, it doesn't focus on it specifically, it just centers it. But it shows the Sticky Bandits, with hands out like this, like, gotcha. And the camera centers in on Harry, Joe Pesci's character, on his right hand. And you see on his hand right here the burn mark from the first film of the giant M from the doorknob where he got burned. I was like, that's kind of cool. Like, they didn't need to add that. No one would have noticed if they didn't mention it or added it or didn't add it or anything. But the fact they did is like, that's just kind of cool. They went that little extra mile, for a little detail like that. I thought that was really cool. Next on the list is seeing as his latest film just came out, The Hateful Eight, I've just because I felt like it, I rewatched my favorite Tarantino film, Kill Bill, and man, it's so great. It part one kind of jump started my my interest in martial arts flicks just in general. So I mean that's how I just went into the process of seeing a lot of modern martial arts flicks and old ones. That Kill Bill was my gateway for that. So that's, but also I just think, besides that, my sentimental feelings towards it, it's just my favorite film of his, and it's one of his best. Django's his best, as far as I'm concerned. But my favorite is Kill Bill. Just great fight choreography, incredibly well shot, lots of really fun nods to other, other films both in the Western genre and the martial arts genre. Great cast. A story that it's a 4-hour flick technically, even though it's split up in 2 parts, but it's this giant epic saga of revenge, bloodlust, and just really great stuff. Love it. And I believe, are we done? I think we are. Yeah, that's all the movies that I saw that weren't in theaters, over the holiday season and weren't Star Wars or Dragon Ball. So that's it for part 6. The big finale, part 7 of this catch up, I'll be doing next. So see you here in a bit. Bye.